The ultimate Jurassic Park iceberg. If you're like me and you want to know everything about the Jurassic franchise, then this iceberg is for you. If you're unfamiliar with the iceberg concept, basically you start at the tip, which is all common knowledge, and you work your way downwards. And as you continue to work your way downwards, things get more and more strange, with things becoming more increasingly dark and mysterious as time goes on. And you won't believe the end tier of this video. So let's start at the beginning. Tier 1, Common Knowledge. The original Jurassic Park and main story. The original Jurassic Park released in 1993 and was a huge box office hit. It features a company called InGen dabbling in cloning technology. Paleontologists such as Alan Grant, Ellie Sattner, and mathematician Ian Malcolm are among a select group chosen to tour an island theme park populated by dinosaurs from their cloning technology, while the park's mastermind, John Hammond, assures everyone that the facility is safe. They find out otherwise that this isn't true when the dinosaurs on the island escape and hunt everybody down, whilst the group try and escape back to the mainland. After several deaths, they eventually leave the island and leave the dinosaurs there, and thus concludes Jurassic Park 1. Now at this stage, several other movies are spanned: The Lost World Jurassic Park, Jurassic Park 3, Jurassic World, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and Jurassic World Dominion. I will not be going over each individual storyline because that will take up the entire video and is basically the entirety of Tier 1. So let's move on to Tier 2. Tier 2. Just below the surface of the iceberg. Now things slowly start to get a little bit more chaotic, mysterious, and darker as time goes on, and this tier will prove it. Jurassic Park Trespasser. Jurassic Park Trespasser is a 1998 action-adventure video game. The game serves as a sequel to the 1997 film The Lost World Jurassic Park, taking place a year after the film's events. Players control Anne, the sole survivor of a plane crash, and leaves her stranded on a remote island with genetically engineered dinosaurs. The video game features Richard Attenborough as John Hammond, reprising his role from the film series. The timeline is a hybrid between the novel and movie, as the Nublar incident takes place in 1989, like the novel, while the InGen hunters arrive at Isla Sorna in 1997, like the movie. While many elements of the backstory and lore could be adapted into the future installments of the film franchise, Trespasser's canon as a whole is a separate entity, although there are several overlaps between the movie universe and Trespasser canon. Jurassic World Live Tour. The story begins on the day Jurassic World falls and ends before the beginning of the adventures shown in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. The story will focus around a team of scientists led by Dr. Kate Walker that have been working on a Dino Decoder, a device that allows humans to understand dinosaur emotions. The story revolves around a Troodon called Jenny, and they're using that to further their research and understanding of dinosaurs on a mainland base in Chile. It is worth noting, however, that this story is indeed canon to the Jurassic World movie franchise canon. Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous follows a group of 6 teenagers chosen for a once-in-a-lifetime experience at a new adventure camp based on Isla Nublar. But when dinosaurs wreak havoc across the island, the campers are left stranded. This show ties into events from the original Jurassic World film and spans several seasons, with the most controversial being Season 5, where they leave Isla Nublar and land on a completely new island controlled by a completely new body, a company called Manticorp. Manticorp are scientifically experimenting on dinosaurs which they captured from Isla Sorna, one of them being the original Spinosaurus. Dinosaurs include Toro the Carnotaurus, Bumpy the Ankylosaurus, and the original Indominus Rex from Jurassic World. They also canonically introduced the world's first genetically modified hybrid, the Scorpius Rex, which predates the Indominus Rex by a few years. The 5th and final season was released on July the 21st, 2022, with fans speculating there'll be a completely new season tied to this in the future. Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park and the Lost World Jurassic Park novels. The Jurassic Park novels by Michael Crichton were used to make and produce Jurassic Park and The Lost World, but there are several huge differences between the novels and the original films. For example, the character deaths are different and the dinosaurs featured in them are completely different as well. The ending in Spielberg's Jurassic Park is bittersweet. The book, however, ends much more violently, with the entire island being raised in napalm, with The Lost World's ending being completely different as well, but that's something we'll talk about later. Not to mention several deaths which were too gory to display on film, but we will cover them later. Telltale's Jurassic Park the Game. Jurassic Park the Game is an episodic graphic adventure video game based on the 1993 film Jurassic Park. It released in 2011 for PlayStation and Microsoft Windows. The game was set during and after the events of the 1993 film. It serves as a mini-series consisting of 4 episodes, but the plot is also focused on the retrieval of the canister full of dinosaur embryos which has been lost during the film with Dennis Nedry. The game features several areas which are not explored during the original movie in 1993, and also focuses on different animals seen on Isla Nublar, such as the Troodon and Tylosaurus. This game is also considered soft canon to the movie franchise, and is something we'll actually touch on and explore in later tiers. The gameplay is a point-and-click action-adventure game in which the player uses a combination of buttons to progress. The player controls various characters throughout the game, which is played across 4 portions, known as episodes. The game has decision-based objectives as well as quick-time events that affect gameplay as well as how the story plays out. The game also features Jerry Harding, who you play as, who's featured in the original Jurassic Park, who's also father to Jess and Sarah Harding. However, Jerry does look completely different to the guy we see in Jurassic Park due to licensing laws and the original Jurassic Park actor not wanting his likeness in the game. The game released in 2011 and received a mixed reception from critics and fans alike. Tier 3. Diving deeper below the iceberg. This part of the video is where it starts to descend into mystery, dark and horror, where many things on the list will be relatively unknown to the average Jurassic Park fan. It's time to hold on to your butts as you have been warned. Gamma, the 5th Raptor Pack member in Jurassic World. Gamma, or Subject V2, was the name given to a velociraptor in Jurassic World. She was made for the InGen security division of Project Ibris during the initial phase. She was rejected by the project due to her aggressive and unpredictable behaviour, thus she was euthanized. She was brown like the big one with a blue stripe very similar to blue but more faint in colour. She also had 2 small vertical scars on her snout. Project Ibris was also the original program which created the Raptor Pack Blue, Echo, Charlie and Delta, with Gamma being the original 5th pack member. Her current status is deceased, but this is open to debate as InGen are known to cover things up. How the Tyrannosaur infant broke its leg. In the Lost World Jurassic Park, we see a baby Tyrannosaur, and one of the main plots revolve around the fact that they want to fix up this broken leg, but we never really hear or see how it actually gets this broken leg. This scene was never shown in the original film. This scene depicts a drunken Ludloom partying it up because they caught so many dinosaurs, drinking extremely heavily, and he stumbles upon AJ and Roland setting up the Rex trap. In his drunken state, he stumbles and lands full weight on the baby T-Rex's leg and breaks it, much to Roland's disgust. This was never explained in the film and people just assumed it was injured when they caught it. The Lost World Jurassic Park Carnotaurus. The original Carnotaurus in the Lost World Jurassic Park novel is completely different to the Carnotaurus we see in Fallen Kingdom and Dominion. One of the major differences is the fact that the novel Carnotaurus is able to camouflage, much like the original Indominus Rex. The novel's Carnotaurus is completely different looking as well, with it actually looking similar to a chameleon with a curled up tail and a pigmented skin tone. Jurassic Park arcade game. The Lost World Jurassic Park is a light gun arcade game from Sega. It was released in 1997 and is based on the film of the same name. It also serves as a sequel to the 1994 Jurassic Park arcade game. The game features 5 levels based on environments from the film, including a laboratory and a workers' village. The players control one of 2 rangers whose goal is to find Dr. Malcolm and Dr. Hardin. Players battle various dinosaurs with their tranquilizer darts. What is extremely interesting in this as it features dinosaurs not usually seen in this franchise, such as Dinosaurus and the Carnotaurus from the Lost World novel. This Carnotaurus is completely different to the ones we see in the movies, where it more resembles a chameleon and even does its invisibility / cloaking like we see from the Indominus Rex. The Carnotaurus is featured as a boss in this arcade game. In 2017, Tech Radar ranked the Lost World Jurassic Park among the 50 best arcade games of all time. Unfortunately, this arcade game is not canon to the movie franchise. Owen Grady in the original Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park 3. There's a wild theory out there that the original turkey boy from Jurassic Park actually grows up to become Owen Grady. There's very little proof or evidence to this theory, just purely a fan theory, but we also have a theory that Owen Grady was in the Marines during Jurassic Park 3 and was one of the original Marines in Jurassic Park 3 with Vis Hoskins, who land on Isla Sorna to rescue the cast in Jurassic Park 3. The dates and timelines match up for Owen to be in the Marines during the time Jurassic Park 3 takes place, which is 2001, and would make Owen relatively in his early 20s. And with Jurassic Park taking place in 1993, it could be plausible and possible that he was the turkey boy. Dr. Henry Wu's original death. Henry Wu has been a staple character throughout Jurassic Park and Jurassic World's franchise, featuring in the first movie and even in the last movie. But this is completely different in the novel, where he's killed off in the first book. It's actually one of the more gruesome deaths in the entire book. Wu is killed during a velociraptor assault on the park's hotel, when a raptor jumps onto him from the roof and guts him. Wu's intestines are then consumed by the raptor as he struggles, as he's still alive, and as he fails to fight it off. Eventually, Wu succumbs to his injuries and dies as the velociraptor eats him alive. Obviously, in the 1993 film, Steven Spielberg opted to keep Dr. Henry Wu alive. This was probably the biggest decision of the entire franchise, as Dr. Wu goes on to play a critical role in the evolution of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World dinosaurs. John Hammond's original death. In the movies, John Hammond is portrayed as a nice, happy-go-lucky kind of man, but in the novels, he's completely different, and the way he dies in the original Jurassic Park novel is nothing short of horrific. The one in the novel is cunning, conniving, very egotistical, completely corporate, and focused on money. He wouldn't even think twice about selling his own grandkids for a quick buck, which makes his death in the novel even more deserving. In the novel, they're gearing up to leave the island, and John has to make his way from one area to the next, but in doing so, he falls down a banking, breaking his ankle. With his ankle severely broken, he is unable to climb back up the hill, and eventually is stalked by a group of compies. Compies and their bite actually produce a venom which will slowly paralyze the victim, and this is what happens to John Hammond. A compy actually takes a nibble at him and slowly starts to paralyze him. John is then unable to move, and all the compies gather around him and slowly start to eat him as he is alive and aware of everything which is going on, just unable to move. Obviously, this never happens in the movie, as John dies of natural causes in the Lost World Jurassic Park. This death is also mentioned in Camp Cretaceous as kind of an Easter egg, as where one of the campers said that John was originally killed by the compies. This was dismissed by another camper saying that was false and John died of natural causes. Tier 4. Nearing the base of the iceberg. This is the tier where all the dark and mysterious things from Jurassic Park start to crop up, and it only gets more dark and mysterious as time goes on. Only the truly hardcore Jurassic fans would have likely have heard any of this stuff. The deleted Jurassic Park 4 movie. Before Jurassic World became, well, Jurassic World, Jurassic Park 4 was already being worked on with Joe Johnston back in 2004. It was later abandoned due to the way the story was going to pan out and how disturbing and crazy the original Jurassic Park 4 story was. Following on from Jurassic Park 3, the idea was to push the sequel into a bold new territory, focusing on human and dinosaur hybrids. They did eventually go the hybrid route, but purely dinosaur, but in Jurassic Park 4, they were going to splice human DNA with dinosaur DNA and create military fighting machines. This storyline in itself is rather creepy and spooky. The story was written along with concept images as you've already seen on screen. The militarized animals were quite literally dinosaur soldiers, hybridized with human DNA and canine DNA, and from the latest art it turns out that they were cyborg human / raptor hybrids as well. Very, very bizarre. These core concepts, however, were never fully abandoned, as in 2006, Universal Pictures and Art Asylum had a small Jurassic Park booth at New York Toy Fair. On display were small diorama statues of a very mean-looking Tyrannosaurus alongside a Triceratops. And as Owen Grady once said, "You want a word with your people in the labs. That's no dinosaur." The abandoned Jurassic Park area in Universal Studios. Many people around the world have more than likely visited Universal Studios Orlando, and when Universal expand and want to create new rides, they have to make more room and shut down others. But that wasn't the case with this area. It was left abandoned and left to rot. It was boarded off and sealed away from the public, and nature eventually reclaimed this section of the park. Very much like the section in 2015's movie Jurassic World, where we see the old gang going into the original Jurassic Park area. It's completely overgrown, and that's what this was like in Universal Studios Orlando. Heck, I never even knew about this, and I've been going to Universal Orlando every year. But up until that point, you could access everything, all the old props, the old areas, completely overgrown. It gives that a very spooky feel. Nothing was taken away. All the old animatronics were still there. You can clearly see them in this clip here. The original paving and pathing is still there. The lighting, sounds, signs, everything is still there. Well, it was until they demolished it all to make room for the Velocicoaster. Very little is known as to what's happened to all the old props and animatronics, or whether parts of this attraction are still accessible. Originally, the attraction was built for you to go on kind of like a little tour where they take you behind the scenes. You see a Triceratops which is supposedly sick in one of the sheds, and they give you kind of like a little tour. I only wish I had this information years ago so I could have experienced it myself, back when it was active, of course. The Black Indominus Rex. The 2015 movie Jurassic World featured the indomitable Indominus Rex, a huge hybrid killing machine. Many people believe she was the only one of her kind, but this isn't entirely true, as there was another, the Black Indominus Rex, and many people believe that she ate this at birth. That is completely incorrect. She actually killed the other Indominus when they were in the paddock together. This is never fully explained in the movie, and they lead us to believe that she actually killed the Indominus during the hatching phase, but that's not entirely true. The exact point in which the white Indominus killed the black Indominus is unknown, but it's obviously prior to the events in 2015, and the fact they were in the paddock together to allow this attack to take place. These events are indeed canon to the Jurassic World franchise, and very little information is out there on this entire event, but you can find all that information you need on my channel. But after you've finished watching this, Mayan ruins on Isla Sorna. Isla Sorna has been the feature island for Jurassic Park 3 and the Lost World Jurassic Park, but there is evidence to suggest that during a time there were Mayan ruins on Isla Sorna. Now, in the Trespasser canon, in a distant past, the island was occupied by the Mayan people. They built pyramids and temples on the western side of the island. The ruins are actually depicted from a map from Jurassic Park 3, showing that they could still potentially be on the island for the movie canon. These ruins are never exclusively seen in any of the movies, but we do see them in the Trespasser canon. The White Indoraptor. Whether you loved it or hated it, the 2018 Jurassic World Fallen Kingdoms addition to the Jurassic World franchise introduced one of the most prolific hybrids ever known, and that was the Indoraptor. The Indoraptor is inspired by some of the most well-known monsters of the horror genre and shares several similarities. The Indoraptor was the first confirmed male dinosaur in the entire Jurassic Park franchise. It is depicted as a vicious, remorseless killer and is showed in a cage on its own, but this wasn't always the case. Originally, there was going to be another Indoraptor, a white one. However, the Indoraptor pictured in the movie was going to fight and kill the white one, which is shown in concept art of the creature. However, this scene and the Indoraptor altogether was scrapped for some unknown reasons. What is interesting is it shows the two Indoraptors have grown up together and thus developed social skills. Ultimately, if they had a story planned out or if they had other plans, it was cut from the movie. Dinosaurs on other islands. The original Jurassic Park films were based on Isla Sorna and Isla Nublar, two islands based around a group of 5. But many theories have it that the other 3 islands are inhabited by other dinosaurs which have migrated from Isla Sorna and Isla Nublar respectively. This is indeed a legitimate theory because in the novel, The Lost World Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park, the dinosaurs are actually migrating themselves via boats. They're sneaking aboard transport vehicles going to the mainland and are actually discovered by mainland authorities. So who's to say that they haven't migrated to the other islands around the 5 deaths? As we know, this area is highly restricted and no one's allowed to visit the areas around the 5 islands. Project Regenesis. Project Regenesis was InGen's secret operation enacted in 1999, after the company was brought out by Masrani Global in 1998. This was headed by Dr. Henry Wu. The purpose of this project was to illegally clone and experiment on new species of dinosaur on Isla Sorna, which included the amalgam testing referred to by a report from the Dinosaur Projection Group. These species include the Ankylosaurus, Ceratosaurus, Corthosaurus, and the Spinosaurus. It is also theorized that Biocen also infiltrated this research, which is something I will cover later on. After Project Regenesis concluded in the year 2000, all animals they illegally cloned were left on Isla Sorna. Nevertheless, without this project, there would be no Spinosaurus. The alternate The Lost World Jurassic Park endings. In the 1997 film The Lost World Jurassic Park, there were at least 3 different endings in the second film to choose from. One such ending was Ian and Sarah overseeing the Rex's return to Isla Sorna. Another scene saw a climactic battle similar to what transcripted in the first film, except it was between velociraptors and pteranodons. Obviously, the San Diego incident was ultimately chosen, but instead of Ian and Sarah overseeing the Rex's transition back, they watched from their apartment with Kelly. Another scene would have been that Hammond's funeral, where Malcolm delivers a very touching speech. The dinosaurs would remain undiscovered by the general public. The monster inside of Paddock 10, Jurassic World. Paddock 10 was a paddock featured in Jurassic World, whereas in Paddock 9 we had the T-Rex, and Paddock 11 was the INDOMINUS Rex enclosure, but very little is actually known about what was in Paddock 10. We know that it potentially would have been a huge enclosure because Paddock 9 is the T-Rex and INDOMINUS is 11, so it potentially would have held a huge dinosaur. Various theories as to what is in Paddock 10 or what was going to be in Paddock 10 exist, such as there's talk of a giganotosaurus, a Spinosaurus, the Scorpius Rex, which was the original hybrid. There was even talk that this was intended to be the original enclosure for the INDOMINUS Rex. And that's because we know Paddock 11 was situated way out in the restricted section and was never meant for public viewing, hence why they would take the INDOMINUS Rex from that paddock and feature it somewhere in the park, with Paddock 10 being the most logical explanation. There are other theories suggesting that it could have potentially have been the Dilophosaurus or even the Carnotaurus, but we do know the Carnotaurus was kept in the restricted section because of Camp Cretaceous. There is also talk that it could have been the Tarbosaurus from Camp Cretaceous. Now, Camp Cretaceous is indeed canon, as we said earlier, but the Tarbosaurus comes from Camp Cretaceous Hidden Adventure, which is confirmed to be soft canon, so the Tarbosaurus may not have existed at all. Another possible dinosaur is the Allosaurus, because we know the Allosaurus to be on Isla Nublar because of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It is spotted running away when the volcano erupts, but there is no official explanation as to what was in Paddock 10. Tier 5. The bottom of the iceberg. We're almost at the very bottom of the iceberg now, with only one tier below this. Expect a lot of unknown information and dark theories at this point. Jurassic Park Zero. Jurassic Park Zero is the special collector's edition prequel of the Topps Jurassic Park series. It features a flipper cover with two covers for both of the stories contained within it, Genesis and Betrayal. The first of the stories, Genesis, is Donald Gennaro meeting John Hammond on Isla Nublar during the construction of Jurassic Park. Hammond drives Gennaro to the visitor center where he shows him promotional videos and the first dinosaur ever for Jurassic Park being born. This is the Tyrannosaurus Rex, Rexy. Donald Gennaro remains unimpressed even by the birth of the baby dinosaur, where Hammond remarks, "Someday this little fellow might surprise you," he says, referencing Gennaro's iconic death. The next story, Betrayal, revolves around Dennis Nedry. It tells a story how Dennis Nedry arrives on Isla Nublar after placing a bid for the Jurassic Parks program. Hammond takes him to see the Triceratops paddock, and Nedry, realizing they're real-life dinosaurs, feels he has been underpaid for this job. So later on, when Nedry is touring the facilities with Hammond, he asks for a raise, which obviously Hammond declines. Fast forward 10 weeks, and Nedry discovers how to switch off the log that tracks his keystrokes, so he can go unnoticed when stealing the embryos. With this out of the way, Nedry proceeds to call Lewis Dodgson to arrange a meeting for him to negotiate the price of the embryos, setting the score for the Isla Nublar incident. Robert Muldoon didn't die to the Raptors. We all know of the legendary clever girl scene in Jurassic Park where Robert Muldoon comes face to face with the velociraptors. We see the velociraptors attack him and it is assumed he dies from them injuries. But in the novel, this isn't the case at all. Robert Muldoon is attacked by the velociraptors and he manages to escape by squeezing into a pipe that was out of the velociraptors' reach. Muldoon ultimately managed to survive, leaving the island with the rest of the survivors. And not only that fact, in all versions of the script except the final version used for the film, Robert Muldoon actually survived the Isla Nublar incident, so he was originally intended to survive all along. This has led many people to actually theorize that Robert Muldoon survived and left the island of his own accord, or was rescued by the InGen cleanup team. Jurassic Park Europe. A slideshow in the VIP dining area shows plans for a possible Jurassic Park Europe, but what is known about the European location is next to nothing. Now, whether or not InGen made purchases of the island near Europe is another matter entirely upon itself. Some have postulated they would be near the Azores shore due to climate reasons, but this is pure speculation. He planned to build this island in the novel, film and game canon, showing that there were indeed plans for a Jurassic Park Europe. Nick Van Owen's disappearance. Nick Van Owen was one of the main characters in the Lost World Jurassic Park, so the fact that at the end of the movie he completely disappears off the face of the earth is completely insane. He plays a huge role in helping the dinosaurs escape on the Lost World and even rescues the remaining survivors on the Lost World in Isla Sorna. So the fact that he completely disappears has a lot of people scratching their heads, and the fact of the matter is that every decision that involved someone getting killed in the Lost World can be traced back to Nick Van Owen, leading people to believe that he is actually the main antagonist for the Lost World Jurassic Park, even more so than the dinosaurs. He's even quoted as being a terrorist, and Roland himself remembers him as one of the Earth's first activists. But the fact that he completely disappeared at the end of The Lost World is one and open for debate. The indoraptors remains. As we all know, in the 2018 Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom movie, the main antagonist is the indoraptor. The indoraptor eventually meets its demise at the hands of Blue and Owen on top of the Lockwood Mansion, where it falls through the glass and gets itself impaled on a set of spikes. Now, next to nothing is known about what actually happened to the indoraptor remains. The indoraptor was a highly sought after prototype, as we've seen in the bidding scene in the Lockwood Manor. There are so many shady characters which would want their hands on this prototype, so the fact that the remains just go unchecked or even spoken about in the future of the Jurassic World movies is completely insane. This has led people to theorize that the remains were actually captured by some type of shady organization and they recloned the indoraptor, and if not, they were probably taken by the military and used to create their own military variants. The fact that there is no canonical explanation as to what happened to the remains will only continue to fuel the theories. All of Jurassic Park dinosaurs are sick. In the original Jurassic Park movie, we know that there's a sick Triceratops. Not to mention, we see a Brachiosaurus which also has some type of cold. Now, in the novel, it is explained how potentially all the cloned animals could be susceptible to sickness. Before John Hammond clones his first dinosaur, he actually clones a baby miniature elephant. This elephant is totally different to any normal elephant. It's able to fit in the palm of your hand, but it has interesting traits. It's extremely aggressive and very susceptible to diseases, always has a cold. Thus, they always have to be extremely careful where they take it, as it's very, very fragile. And this seems to be the case with the original Jurassic Park dinosaurs. They seem to have developed these traits. We see the trike, which is very ill. The Brachiosaurus also has a cold. Now we'll talk about the velociraptors and how the T-Rex is also ill. We see the velociraptors in the kitchen scene blow out their nostrils, insinuating that they have some type of mucus in their nostril. Not to mention, they're unable to smell the children even though they're right next to them. A predator such as that would have killer sense of smell. And the same thing goes for the T-Rex. It blows out its nostrils continuously, and even though it's standing right in front of Dr. Alan Grant, is unable to smell him. All this indicates to the fact that they are ill with some type of virus affecting their nostril and nervous system. Now, we do know that the dinosaurs have a lysine deficiency, but they are supplied at this point with their lysine from Jurassic Park, so that would not be a factor. This is basically further explained in the Lost World Jurassic Park novel, as the entire population of Isla Sorna is wiped out by disease. Donald Gennaro in Jurassic Park was meant to survive. Donald Gennaro in the movies is probably one of the most iconic deaths of all time, where we see him sat on the toilet and being eaten alive by the Tyrannosaurus Rex, but he was actually meant to survive as he does in the novels. Gennaro in the novels is actually a completely different character and is not like he is portrayed in the film. In the novels, he is buff, not scared of anything, and will pull his own weight up against the dinosaurs. I mean, he even takes on a T-Rex with Robert Muldoon and helps stop the raptor attack on the resort. Steven Spielberg actually planned a different character to be eaten by the T-Rex, but felt the casting point for Donald Gennaro felt more on point for the story, hence why Gennaro was eaten and not a different character entirely. Eric Kirby works for Jurassic World. Whether you loved or hated Jurassic Park 3, it did bring in some key staple characters and dinosaurs, such as the Spinosaurus and the Kirby family. But it has been theorized that Eric Kirby now works for Jurassic World. Eric Kirby was incredibly interested in dinosaurs, with the child having even read Alan Grant and Ian Malcolm's books. It's not too far-fetched to believe that Eric Kirby would be working at Jurassic World after the events of Jurassic Park 3, meaning that it would have made perfect sense for him to return in the film. Eric would be a young adult by the time Jurassic World took place in 2015, making his return even more believable. Another benefit of Eric Kirby working for Jurassic World is the fact that it would link the two eras of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World together. Kirby working for Jurassic World would have been more like a continuation rather than it being a completely new trilogy. I mean, Jurassic World would be stupid not to hire him. He survived on Isla Sorna for 8 weeks on his own. Jurassic World's Spinosaurus. Jurassic World had so many dinosaurs kept in his paddocks, and one of the things we talked about earlier was paddock 10 holding a dinosaur. That dinosaur could have potentially have been the Spinosaurus, and there's various evidence to back this up. The Spinosaurus was originally on Isla Sorna during the 2001 incident in Jurassic Park 3, and all of Jurassic World's dinosaurs, apart from the ones which were originally found on Nublar, came from Isla Sorna during the 2005 cleanup incident. A dinosaur as big as the Spinosaurus would not have gone unchecked on Isla Sorna, hence why Jurassic World would have taken it along with all the other T-Rexes. So it was heavily theorized that Jurassic World did indeed keep the Spinosaurus but never had it on display. This is how Manticore would have acquired the Spinosaurus, as they took it off Isla Nublar during his fall in 2015. Darius from Camp Cretaceous is Ramsey in Jurassic World Dominion. Very little is known about Ramsey's backstory in Jurassic World Dominion, or why he would even want to bring down the company he works for, Biocen. But this is actually answered in Camp Cretaceous by saying he is actually Darius Bowman. Darius Bowman is one of the main characters in Camp Cretaceous and is hell-bent on bringing anybody down who opposes dinosaurs. He even brings down the rival company in Camp Cretaceous called Manticorp. So he has a huge motive to go up against Biocen. He has a huge passion for dinosaurs and wants to see them thrive and do well in the wild. The end of Camp Cretaceous Season 5 and the timelines for Dominion would match up perfectly to go undercover and infiltrate Biocen. Tier 6. The dark below the iceberg. This is where you will have some of the most creepiest facts about Jurassic Park on the internet, not to mention some of the craziest theories around. Brace yourselves. The original Jurassic Park animatronic moves on his own. Everyone knows the legendary, iconic 1993 Jurassic Park T-Rex, aka Rexy, but barely anyone knows the fact that it actually used to move on its own. This sounds like it's something from Five Nights at Freddy's, but I assure you it's entirely true. During the shooting, the rain had actually soaked through Rexy's latex skin, causing Rexy to vibrate uncontrollably. As a result, the Rexy animatronic had to be dried with towels and hair dryers between takes, but there were reports of the animatronic would sometimes move on its own, adding a bit of fear during the production. She would regularly move and twitch on her own accord, especially when she was put away for the night. This would strike fear into absolutely anybody on the set, or especially if it was a nighttime scene and they were packing away. Not to mention, if she decided to move uncontrollably, this could cause serious harm and injury to anyone in the vicinity. Jurassic Park existed in the WESTWORLD universe. WESTWORLD was one of Michael Crichton's other works, where it featured a world full of animatronics rather than dinosaurs. These animatronics were super lifelike, and you couldn't tell one animatronic from a real person. The premise for WESTWORLD was very much like Jurassic Park. People would holiday to this destination and live out living in a WESTWORLD with fake animatronics which look like and act like real people. You would be unable to tell the difference. And just like Jurassic Park, things start to fall apart in WESTWORLD, where the animatronics start acting out on their own and believing they're real people, killing all the real guests in the process. WESTWORLD has been adapted into a TV series and has been pretty successful, and in WESTWORLD Season 3 Episode 2, they actually reference Jurassic Park as existing in their world. In a scene, one of their technicians is dismantling a dragon animatronic, and he says he's dismantling this to sell to a startup in Costa Rica. Now, in Jurassic Park, the fictional island where John Hammond establishes the park is based off the Costa Rican coast. Neither technician in this WESTWORLD series mentions the Costa Rican island by name, but it's hard to imagine anywhere else that they would want or could spare no expense on such a huge animatronic. Obviously, the WESTWORLD version of Jurassic Park would be quite different to the Jurassic Park dinosaurs brought to life through genetically altered frog DNA. The existence of Jurassic Park in WESTWORLD is fun to imagine, particularly because of how they both stem from the mind of Michael Crichton. Maisie Lockwood is a human-dinosaur hybrid. This might sound like a horror movie or the deleted script for Jurassic Park 4, but I assure you it's not. Maisie Lockwood was featured in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and Jurassic World Dominion, and as we know, she was a clone, which has led many people to theorize that she is in fact cloned with some dinosaur DNA because of her mannerisms and interactions with the dinosaurs. We know that in Fallen Kingdom she feels some type of connection / empathy towards the dinosaurs in the gas chamber and lets them escape. We also know she has a similar connection such as Blue does with Owen as she does with Beta, and is able to kind of control the dinosaurs. There's also a theory that the indoraptor recognizes some type of dinosaur hybrid DNA inside of her, and that's why he's so fixated and fascinated with her in the original Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. This theory has recently been debunked though, as Colin Trevorrow himself says that there is no dinosaur DNA in Maisie Lockwood. But personally, I choose to ignore Colin Trevorrow after Jurassic World Dominion, and I don't rate his input on the franchise at all. Biocen on Isla Sorna. During Project Regenesis in 1998 to 1999, Biocen actually posed as InGen scientists. This is when they made the Spinosaurus, Ankylosaurus, and 2 other genuses on Isla Sorna. InGen scientists actually left Isla Sorna in 1999, whereas the Biocen scientists continued from 1999 to the year 2000 and enabled Biocen to catch up to InGen in all them lost years of research. This is how Biocen was able to clone their own dinosaurs and create their own Biocen Valley. This plan was initiated by Lewis Dodgson, who infiltrated InGen during that time, the canical Stegoceratops. Jurassic World featured only one hybrid that we know of, the Indominus Rex, but this was never always meant to be the case. Stegoceratops was supposed to exist. There was a scrapped scene of Owen and Claire encountering one randomly, while looking for the kids, only getting cut out at the fear that the Indominus wouldn't feel as special. The Stegoceratops was was also featured on Dr. Wu's computer in the Jurassic World lab, making its appearance in the franchise completely canon. Stegoceratops was actually a hybrid of Stegosaurus and a Triceratops. It was also featured in Jurassic World Evolution, US government and Costa Rica napalm bombing. This was a canon event which was supposed to have taken place in the novel and Jurassic Park the game, which is considered soft canon to the movie franchise. During the Isla Nublar incident in 1993, the United States military made plans to send B-52 bombers to Islas Nublar to eradicate the dinosaurs roaming freely after the humans on the island were evacuated. Mercenary Billy Yoder, the only surviving member of one of the teams sent to rescue any survivors left on Isla Nublar, revealed to some of the survivors the planned bombings. Billy is then told that the bombing will commence in 90 minutes. However, it apparently never occurred, as the forests of Isla Nublar show no signs of deforestation. Rexy, Jurassic Park's Tyrannosaurus, lived for years on the island after the Nublar incident in 1993, and there are many remnants of Jurassic Park that remain and show no signs of being charred or bombed. The same thing goes for the novel, as it was reported that the entire island was completely bombed and filled with napalm, eradicating any life on that island. Elliot Wu, Dr. Henry Wu's brother. Elliot Wu was an all-new character and was meant to be in the final version of the Lost Worlds novel, and was even planned to be in the Steven Spielberg The Lost World Jurassic Park. Elliot Wu is an all-new character mentioned nowhere in the final novel, and Henry Wu does not mention having a brother in Jurassic Park either. Elliot Wu was the head of operations on Site B, aka Isla Sorna, deciding to stay behind on the island as its caretaker, presumably taking up the lodgings in the manager's residence. He is described as being visibly very frail, and is unexplained how he managed to survive on Isla Sorna for so long. It is due to his intervention that the surviving members of Malcolm's team were able to get safely away after escaping the velociraptors. This ending provides a fascinating glimpse into what might have been if Crichton decided to stick with this ending. Jurassic Park's fall was inevitable. Many people believe that Jurassic Park would have actually been really successful, just like Jurassic World, if Dennis Nedry actually said no to Lewis Dodson. But that's not entirely true. Even if Dennis Nedry did say no to the inside job and espionage, Jurassic Park was always destined to fail because of the chaos theory effect. Eventually, something would have gone wrong, one of them dinosaurs would have escaped, and it would always reverted back to the original Jurassic Park incident, which basically was all the dinosaurs were always going to escape. They were always going to be some type of death, and they would never be able to contain their life. Hammond was always obsessed with cutting corners and actually keeping costs down, despite his face always saying no expense spared, which is displayed and ultimately what happens in the original Jurassic Park, whether Nedry was there or not. Jurassic Park was always going to fail. Life will not be contained, as Ian Malcolm once said. The docile Indoraptor. The 2018 film Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom depicts the Indoraptor as an absolute ruthless, no remorse showing killing machine, but that may not be the case at all. The Indoraptor was tortured through its entire lifespan and was only ever seen as a weapon. It was never really given the time to bond with anyone or anything. It was told to be highly intelligent, and they only needed Blue's behaviours to fill in the prototype and show it how to behave. But what happens if this person could have actually been Maisie Lockwood? The Indoraptor's obsession in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is evidently apparent the way it chases Maisie Lockwood around the Lockwood Manor, and it only ever really harms anyone who's going to harm it or antagonizes it. And in the scene where we see Maisie in the bed and the Indoraptor comes in, it takes a completely different approach. Every other approach, it is very full on, aggressive, in your face, but at this time it seems very quiet, very docile, very slow, very unsure, and it slowly makes its way up to Maisie. Now, one could say that it is actually just antagonizing her and trying to provoke fear, but what happens if it was just trying to connect in the only way it knows how? It's almost as if it's reaching out to her rather than trying to kill her. It's going to peel back the covers as such. So it leaves a lot of speculation there as to whether, if it wasn't given the chance, if our hero Owen Grady doesn't come guns a-blazing in through the door Texas style like he always does, would the Indoraptor actually have connected with Maisie and seen a different side? All the dinosaurs are slowly rotting from the inside. As we are told from the original Jurassic Park film in 1993, all the dinosaurs require lysine to be injected by the park keepers, or they will slowly slip into a coma and die. Now, we do know eventually they find a way to get this lysine on their own by eating plants, and then the carnivores would then eat the herbivores, eventually continuing the cycle of them producing their lysine. But this isn't entirely the case, as lysine will slowly start to be deficient, and it will slowly start to eat at them from the inside, which would essentially mean all the dinosaurs will start rotting slowly from from the inside. This is also the case in the Lost World Jurassic Park novel, where all the dinosaurs die of disease. This is a horrible thing to actually think about and imagine, where you kind of have like a zombie mush dinosaur walking around which is rotting from the inside. The Jurassic Park iceberg is definitely deeper than meets the surface. The fact that I could have easily have made this video extremely lengthy, but I've covered most of these in depth on the channel if you want to delve into each individual one, which I would highly recommend going checking it out. I worked extremely hard on this video, putting so much time, effort and research into it, so please, if you did enjoy it, give it a like and hit subscribe and go and check out all my other videos. It does really help me out on the channel. I'd like to thank my YouTube members as always. Thanks guys for supporting me. Couldn't make these videos without you. And thank you for watching this all the way to the very end. I'm Shadows and I'll see you in the next Jurassic World horror video. Bye bye.